right, we're going to try a little experiment here using our gold foil cardstock or whatever, paper. And we're going to use two different colors of Brilliance inks. I just got a bunch of crystal rhinestones in different colors, but I thought we would try some of these in combination with this foil. I thought it would make a really great kind of accessory and I don't know, little kind of points of focus on here. All right, let's keep the composition simple. Let's go with the Lakeside Cove large. A lot of people have seen this used in many different scenes, so I don't know, it almost becomes kind of like a neutral type of design, you know, and something that we can do a little comparison contrast with. As far as designs go, let's keep it fairly simple. I thought I would use the Shimmering waters here in combination with the Lakeside Cove and maybe some water lilies down here. And then what I want to do is I want to create some textures down here using some different rocks. I think those will be really important down here, kind of as a subsurface type of texture to lay our additional crystal rhinestones on. So I don't know. I'm trying to conceive of it right now as we speak. And I've been using so many different types of combinations of media lately. I almost kind of forget kind of what to do with some of this, okay? Now, one of the things about Brilliance inks here, if you haven't seen my other videos utilizing it, is that Brilliance pigment inks are kind of the, I don't know, the stays-on ink of the kind of pigment ink world, okay? They're designed to dry on non-porous surfaces. That being said, this foil, I don't know, it's probably not something that they really designed it for. They designed it for, you know, to be used with like glossy cardstock and surfaces of that nature that still are porous enough where they absorb your media, okay, like such as this pigment ink, but they're not this sealed off. That being said, this still works on here, okay, but you'll just need to really give it quite a bit of time to dry off. I just throw, you know, I don't know, people say, I don't have the patience to wait for this to dry. I'm not sitting here waiting for this to dry. I put it on my shelf and it dries and, you know, that's all it does, you know, it's dry in a couple weeks. Now, if you need a card in a hurry, this isn't your, you know, your methodology for that. But you could try Stays-On or something like that. They'll dry on this really fast. But I can't blend tones around like this on it, okay? Stays-On just dries way too fast. You know, it dries almost instantly. Okay, so we have that laid down. I'm just getting some tone around this. You know, it kind of creates a little bit of a vignette. If you're a stamper crafter, you've probably done this type of thing. You've sponged, you know, you've laid down some colors, and then you've sponged around on your perimeter. It's the same concept here. I think most of us have done it. You know, if you put a little bit of tone around on some sort of perimeter to create a border, then you have done this technique. I'm just doing it on a mirrored cardstock that, you know, where the media just does not dry very fast. You see that I'm just kind of touching in the middle like right here. Yeah, I don't know, you can probably find some other type of methodology to use. If you're kind of used to stamping on platforms, though, you know, you might be affixing this down. I'd recommend, if you're going to use a platform, to do this part of it ahead of time, you know, before you kind of position in your platform. Then you can stamp your stamps down, you know, with the, you know, the, whatever, the cover or whatnot afterwards. Okay, we got that down. Now, I'm doing this as a secondary type of process here. The reason why I'm not stamping that first and then toning in is because the impression is going to be very moist and wet. Okay, so I don't want to be kind of blending in color over it, and then smearing the impression. So you get the colors down ahead of time like that. Okay, now, I tell you what, I was going to stamp this, but let's get a little bit of this white Brilliance ink laid down here. I want to have this kind of surface shimmer coming off the water. So let's get a little bit of this white going. I'm just using a cotton ball I previously used with silver, so hopefully that silver doesn't come off on there. I don't want that. If I go over the black, it's inevitably going to pick it up on the white here, but, you know, so what? Okay. Like that. Now, ideally, I have a little bit of those rock textures underneath that white. But if I have those rocks, again, if I stamp those down there and I tap over it with the white, it's going to smear the rocks and it's going to, you know, I'm going to have a bunch of black ink all up in this. Okay, now that, and I'm going to try to get a little bit of this white laid down here where my rocks from the Lakeside Cove are going to go. You know, this is applying pretty well over the top of the black. You know, it's probably picking up a little bit of it, but, you know, I'm fairly pleased with it. It's not too bad, okay? Here's where I'm getting that white laid down over the black, okay? When I don't use this foil for a while, I'm always kind of reminded of, you know, kind of just how, you know, fairly, I don't know, difficult's the word, but, a little bit complicated photographing it, even in a video like this, because there's so much reflected light coming off of it. Okay, so this is the Shimmering stamp right here. You can use it or not. It just, I don't know, it adds another texture, you know, to the surface like that. I don't know if you can even see it. Oh, okay, here you go. There I am too. Let me try to get out of the picture. Let's see these kind of striations coming across it. Maybe I'll have it coming all the way down like that. Okay. It's all about kind of layered textures for me when I'm stamping. I like to have a lot of layers and depth within a scene. Now, stamping on, you know, foils, it limits me as far as the number of layers that I can put down because the ink is going to be wet. I'm stamping with pigment inks. You can't just stamp 5 layers of pigment inks because they're going to be moist on the surface. So you can't really stamp moist into moist too much because, you know, when you lift off the whatever you're trying to apply over the top of moist, you know, a thick layer ink that's practically like as thick as paint, it's just not going to transfer. You know, sometimes you stamp down and you lift up and you've removed ink that's already on the paper. So, you know, that's kind of always a consideration. So that being said, you know, I try to create as much depth as possible with as few, with a minimal amount of layers that seem to be allowed. Okay, so I'm roughly going for these rocks right here that are in the light to be stamped in that lighter area. I might be off, you know, I might be off by quite a bit, but I don't know. It doesn't need to be right on. If I'm within, you know, about a 1/4 inch, you know, which is, you know, a pretty decent amount of space, then it'll be fine. Maybe even a 1/2 inch. Someone told me recently that, you know, they like the stamping, but you know, there's no way that they would ever be able to align the stamps like I do. Well, I don't align stamps. That's the whole point of Stampscapes. You're overlapping things by, you know, a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's a lot of space. That's like this amount of space right here, where you're overlapping something over at the top. So that's the whole point of it, is that you don't have to align. It's not like a puzzle, you know, where you're going edge to edge, and perfection is, you know, the point. In fact, that's like bad technique for scenic stamping because things aren't going to be as seamless as they could be if things were overlapped, okay? And that's because they're saying that because a lot of people are used to stamping outline images. If there's lines in images, those ones are hard to use because they will show that overlapping part. So I always tell people, try to avoid outlined images in terms of the overlapping aspect of it, okay? Okay, so anyways, you see that there's my image right in here, and you can see where I've laid down the white. It kind of illuminates back there, right? All right, and I don't know, some of that white's up there in those trees, but no big deal. All right, so anyways, I'm just filling in a little bit more. All I need is like I don't know, a 1/4 inch in here, but see, I'm overlapping that previous impression by about a 1/4 inch or so. And I get, I don't know if you can even see it here on the, okay, see that there was a little bit of space in here. It didn't need to be stamped in here, but there's a little bit of a tree in here, so I overlapped that previous impression by, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch or so. Okay, now you can go in here and fine tune a little bit more. You can add a little bit more of like shading down here in the rocks, and sometimes that anchors the image into the scene a little bit more than not having that additional tone laid in there. But let me see if I can do it here. There is a danger of kind of blurring out the image down there because that ink is not dry. Okay, now if you're doing this on cardstock or something like that, that thing's already dry. All right, it dries almost like instantly. I'm talking about the Brilliance ink. Okay, Brilliance inks again are designed to dry very quickly. So if you're doing it on an absorbent cardstock, then it dries very fast. Okay, so I'm just lightly adding this down, and in this video, I really don't know if you'll be even able to tell. Okay, adding a little bit more on the kind of the 4 corners. I think the 4 corners make a really strong framing vignette for us. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that worked okay. I just, kind of avoided going up into the rocks very much, but I put a little bit of tone right down here. So don't you think the image sits into the scene a little bit more, I don't know, effectively, or it gives the image a certain visual weight, all right? I know it's kind of hard to see on the, really any kind of photograph or anything. Okay, so I'm going to add some rocks down here. Now this is probably really going to be very difficult to see. Sorry about that. But I don't know if you can see this at all. That would be good. Okay. And you can add rocks and water. Water isn't, unless there's zero visibility to it. Hopefully, the water is fairly clear and you can see through it, and you can see, down into the depths like that. This could be the shallows right here. It could be a foot deep or something like that, or 2 feet deep. When it starts getting to 10 feet, you probably won't be able to see too much of it. I don't know. Sometimes you still can. All right, so that was the Pebbles stamp. Okay. And that's going to give me a nice foundation for using these crystals in here. It's like sometimes you look through in a lake type of thing and you see these little flashes of kind of light kind of coming back at you. This is the tiny rock, so I want to layer some different textures in here. The pebbles were a little bit more like a volume. These ones are more silhouette. So they make a pretty good combination with one another. For a while there, I was wondering if this tiny rock small was my favorite stamp. It's just that little texture like that. I don't know. I almost had to stop using it because I was using it so much. Okay, so anyways, we got these textures like that. See that like that? And from a distance, it looks like that. They're almost kind of indiscernible, right? When you look at it at arm's distance, you know, from how someone will be looking at it. But look at this foil. Isn't this foil fun? I mean, we have that kind of little, I mean, it's reflective of light, but when you have an actual like lake and it represents water, then when you look at this light in here, you know what I mean? It's just anything kind of flash. That's my tripod arm. But anything flashing on it, I mean, it kind of contributes to the scene. It's like anything like in the background of where you're viewing, you know, a mirrored card, it becomes a part of the card because it's reflecting back. So, I don't know. It's to me that's an interesting phenomenon. The lighting that you have in the room that you're viewing it in is going to, you know, be it's going to affect, you know, what the viewer is looking at. Okay, here's some reeds in the foreground. I have to lay these down here first because I don't want to stamp this over like rhinestones. You can't stamp over like that three-dimensional object like that. So, you know, in any area, get your stamping, you know, done first before you start to apply those three-dimensional objects, of course. All right, so that is it. What are we at? 15 minutes, you know, and I'm blabbing away talking about it. So this is a pretty quick scene, and I think it's pretty effective just as is. I think it'd be kind of interesting to put like a moon or a sun up there. I could, you know, you can take like a hole punch type of thing. This one might be too big. I would use probably a smaller hole punch, and you can not this and put that down there, but you can, you know, use the whole portion of it and just dab some white ink in there, you know, and it can represent a moon or whatever. Okay, so that being said, let's get into our little gems, okay? So crystals, clear and gold, okay? And I really need some new glue. Look at this, where I put this pin here into this cap right here. I don't really use this other side of the cap, you know, with this, oh yeah, this is a screw off right here, with this kind of wide application right here. So I just put this pin in here because sometimes my other side right here tends to clog up. My ink dries in there, so I have to kind of punch through a lot. Okay, so where do you put these? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But I'll just put a few drops of glue. Okay. Around here so that that becomes my little sparkle. When I add a dab of it, this glue is really old and thick. Yeah. And when I put a dab down, it's like mozzarella cheese or something like that. I can pull it up like this, and I have a 4-inch string of glue. I don't know. It's dragging out like that. This isn't an effective method here. I know I could put this on a separate piece and kind of apply it with a toothpick, but I'm lazy. People always think I use really advanced techniques and everything like that. And I don't. I go for kind of the simplest techniques that I possibly can. Now, if I need to do something, I will, of course. But, I don't know, kind of applying things with a little cotton ball or ripping a paper towel for masks. Um, little to no masking at all, too. I don't know. That doesn't seem complex to me. But I want, effective looks, with the easiest possible manner. That's why I create the designs to be, really minimal placement needed, in terms of careful placement at least. It's like the absence of kind of complex procedures and whatnot. It's like, I don't know, I consider when I do the opposite of that, really. But we do want, you know, kind of wow effects. So, but people think that if it looks like that, it seems like they figure it's kind of a complex kind of process to achieve it. But I don't know. What we want is we want, you know, kind of simple processes, you know, in terms of at least not giving us any kind of headaches or whatnot and applying them. But we want stunning results, don't we? I mean, that's the ideal combination. Okay, trying to get my gem picker. I think my gem picker's kind of mucked up here. It's not sticking as well. Okay, there we go. Ah! Okay, so this one's a little gold one right here. The gold against gold isn't going to show up, but hopefully that three-dimensional aspect to it will reflect in the light. Okay. All right, I'm gonna grab the bigger side. I think that's that. What was said in the instructions for this thing is when it gets less tacky, you know, because I've touched it too much with my finger or whatnot. Um, you just kind of rinse it off with some water. This is the thicker side. It's almost too um, tacky. You know, that little rubber on there. Sometimes when I lay something down with it, when I pull it off, I'm pulling off the thing that I'm trying to, you know, transfer onto the surface. Yeah, okay. There we go. All right, so let's see what this looks like so far. Okay, so, you know, I mean, it doesn't really show up too much. Well, the glue is showing up right there, but you see the little gold crystals like that? I thought I ordered some amber ones too, but I didn't. I had them in my shopping cart, and then I thought, you know, I have too many crystals here, or too many different ones. I didn't want to spend, you know, too much. These don't cost too much per pack, but when you start thinking about, you know, if you're thinking about, you know, 5 packs of, you know, dedicated colors, you know, it starts to add up a little bit, especially when we're talking about, you know, like 3,000 or whatever per case, which you'll never go through in your lifetime, you know. I don't think. Um, you know, it's kind of a lot. Then there was some multi ones where there was like multiple colors in each one. I thought I don't want to, you know, like be digging through, you know, every time you know, I'm going for a certain color. So I went for the dedicated color sets. Okay, now I'm applying the clear here, clear crystals. Some of these are, that little bead of glue is really reflective. Maybe you can use just a bead of glue on there. I don't know what it'll look like when it dries, though. Now, I think this would look really fantastic in um, a waterfall type of situation. Anywhere where you have like a lot of churning water, you know, to reflect a lot of you know, potential light. I think that would be interesting. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's see this in combination, okay? All right. See that down there? I think I've spaced things out too evenly and whatnot. I think that looks pretty good. I tell you what, though, I think we need um, more of that little shimmer higher up on the composition as well. I think I'm squeezing out too much glue. Here, I'll just put a tiny bit down. I should probably do it too, where there's a little bit of a side-by-side type of application of the, you know, like crystals all in a kind of a little shimmery type of horizontal kind of format here. I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, now I'm focusing most of the these little shimmers in the lighter area of the scene, you know, because I don't know, the theory is that you know, that's where most of the light is reflecting off that. So I would have most of the, you know, these little shimmering bits coming off of that area, right? Okay, so these are going off in the distance. So let's do kind of smaller little bits of that reflected light down there. Okay, so what I'm doing here, let's see if this works. I haven't done this before, but I'm adding these kind of in a little bit of a row. Get these kind of these little gems need to there we go. Now I've almost put a little streak of glue, like 3 of them going here, here, and here. Alright, that's just going to make it easier for me to apply these gems, crystals. Okay. There we go. Let me just grab a bunch of those out of there at the same time. Boy, that tip is sticky. Ah, I just got glue all over that. I need this smaller tip. Here, let me try to use my smaller tip on these smaller ones. It should stick just fine. Okay. The biggest thing is getting these things little, I don't know what these are, like 1 millimeter ones kind of flipped over right side up. I need a crystal assistant. Okay, here we go. I just kind of flicked it, hoping it would kind of flip over. Remember what I said about easy kind of methodology? Alright, this is like the hardest thing that I do is getting these crystal things kind of turned over the right way. Right side up. These 1 millimeter crystals. A lot of these crystals, what they're designed for are, I think the ones that I'm using right now, the clear ones, were designed for people doing nails, fingernails. Okay, now the gold ones here are kind of for fabrics to do. They're hot press ones. You can there's a glue on the flat side of it, so you can put it on the fabric and use that applicator, or you can just iron over the top of it if you get it into a pattern that you want, and it will melt onto the surface that you're applying it to, which is pretty interesting. Which it gets me to thinking that I wonder if I will maybe utilize that tool in the future. It seems pretty cool. You just kind of, it's like a little hot melt gun, almost a little plug-in, and it has a little thing like that, and you put on a different tip depending on what size, and you just touch it down like that, and it will heat it up and melt that tip, or the gem, into place. Okay, so anyways, here we go. See these little crystals like that? It looks kind of crazy when you look at it, like too close up, but do you see that little shimmery light like that? Okay. Now, when you look at it like this, it's kind of crazy. It's, you know, almost stands out too much, but that type of stuff, though, I mean, that, I've kind of avoided a lot of that type of thing in the past, but I don't know. I really like it in terms of the light reflection, that type of quality to it, okay? Now those are starting to stand out a little bit too much for me. See, I'm kind of, I don't know. I do like subtlety, okay? But I also like light in my scenes, okay? And the representation of reflected light So I often do highlights with my white pen. If you look at any of the videos, I mean, I don't know what percentage I use a white pen to add in those little touches. Because you see this in everything. When you're viewing your computer right now on your mouse, there's kind of a highlight on it or whatnot, you know, around every edge. There is a highlight on something. Here's the highlight on this thing all along that edge right there. You know, highlight those two little dots right there are highlights. You can take a black bottle like that and look at the highlights on it, right? I mean, if you don't have those types of things, it could look really good, but you're missing kind of the three-dimensional and reflective quality of a surface, you know, that everything has. So, I don't know, working with something like a gem or crystal kind of really amplifies that kind of idea of that reflective quality of all objects out there. And something like water like this would have a very reflective surface to it, so you'd get little flashes of light. And when you add in these little things like these crystals and glass, okay, on the surface like that, it, you know, it kind of, you know, it kind of mimics nature to, you know, to some degree. Okay, let's see, let's put a little bit of these highlights on the tops of these rocks in the distance. Add a little bit of a three-dimensional type of quality to them. Just like that. Okay, see how those highlights really stand out, right? This is at arm's distance, but let's take a look down here in the water. See those little white dots like that, right? And then here we have those little additional crystals. Now see, when we're looking at it like that, they kind of blend in with the surrounding, right? But you see these gold ones right here? This is interesting to me. So I just got the gold ones, and I didn't go too crazy with the gold. Now see, if I put the gold in the light area, these would be dark in the light. That's why I went with the clear in the lighter areas like that. I don't know. I mean, I put some of those real small gold ones in there, but I don't know if you can tell. Like, that's a gold one there, 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 there. So they reflect different light. So you have some golden light, and then you have some clear light, you know, coming off my studio lights in here. See these ones right in here? So anyways, so that was the concept of this scene right here. I would, if I got some of those amber ones, those would really look kind of interesting in here too. But anyways, so you see a card like that. It's pretty simple in terms of the composition and kind of the construction of it. Now look at this one. I have it dark down here. So those little flashes of light. Let me get myself out of the scene. This is interesting to me. The golden ones really kind of reflect out like there, there, and there. See that? And the crystal, the clear ones are kind of sparkly here. But I don't know, those gold ones are like mirrors, so you get different reflections coming off of it like that. I don't know, that to me is really fun. I mean, you can put a couple up here as stars too. This could be a moonlit, you know, type of scene too. I don't know. That to me was always kind of one of those interesting types of aspects of the mirrored cards. Like when I lay this down right here, this looks like moon, right? Because the gold is really dark right now. But you know, when you have it reflecting so much light like this, it's like, well, what is it? Is it day or night? You know, like that. It depends on what what's being reflected in here. Reflect your hand or whatever. But oh, here, let me reflect, something light in here. Okay, so this is just my piece of paper like this that I'm holding up, right? Like this. So I don't know. It looks very different. And look at that reflection down there. It's the reflections in white against gold is kind of quite subtle. Now that's very, I don't know, stark and dramatic like that, with so much more contrast. So I don't know. Like I said, I've mentioned this before, but it's kind of an interactive piece. It really kind of invites the recipient or the viewer of this to hold it up like this. Drying time going to be very slow. I don't know. it feels tacky to me the next day, but you know, if I wiped across it really hard, I'm sure it would kind of wipe off. But I don't know. I don't know. Let me see if I can show you. Can you tell right there that that black is a little bit wetter? But you can see it. It's in the tip of it up there. But like this other part, it's it's starting to set up. But you don't need to be patient. Just lay it down. I put these just on like on a bookshelf or something like that. And I don't know, I just kind of forget about it and go back to it after a couple weeks when it's really set. It'll set in a few days. It depends where you are too. How arid or relative humidity is in your location. But you can heat set them too. But I wouldn't heat set it right away. Otherwise, you're just going to have to really heat set it. Heat set it from back. It's going to be curling like that. Maybe start heat setting it after a few days after it's dried a decent amount. And then what I do is, those cellophane envelopes, I just throw it in one of those. I don't even bother spraying it. And then that's the way that I would just kind of intend for it to be viewed. But, I mean, this could really benefit from, a little bit of a border of some sort, if you're going to format your card. So, something with a white little border like that, and I don't know, black or something like that, or this is copper, like that would be kind of interesting, something like that sort. And then just throw it in the cello bag and envelope, and I don't know, just those things are so clear, it's not going to interfere with the viewing or the nature of the surface right here. I was touching it right there. I just removed some of the ink on my finger like that, but you just go back in, and it won't do that in a couple days. Just touching it like that, because it'll be set up, a lot better. Okay, but just do watch for it. I think these types of things are worth it, though, in terms of this. In terms of the effects that they give you, I think they're worth the wait in terms of the drying time. And it's not a hard process to color these, but if you're going to do these, do use the Brilliance inks, or if you're going, if you're not going to be doing the toning and stuff like that, just stamp it out in StazOn, and you won't even have to worry about the drying time at all. If you want the white down there, there is a StazOn white ink. That thing, pigment ink, it dries super fast, so I don't know. I would really consider, something like the Brilliance white like that, and it will dry. Some people are telling me they tried the VersaFine on it and it never dried, and that's true. I don't know of any other inks besides these specialty inks like this that you can apply down here and blend them out, and they'll dry. But that's what these are for, that's what they're designed for. So I would take advantage of that if you do like this look, and you can use these for your regular pigment ink applications as well. Okay, all right. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comment section. If you like these videos and the channel in general, please take a moment to hit the like button. Thanks for watching.